All right. What is up, guys? It has been as long as you think it's been, but it also hasn't been. Cuz I've recorded videos, two of them, and I'm pretty sure I didn't upload either one of them. One of them were 3 hours long. Was 3 hours long. But yeah, suffice it to say, I didn't end up uploading them, and if I did, I might just go back and delete either of them that uploaded because I said I was over my seasonal depression in them, and I guess I wasn't because yeah, we just been dragging a little bit lately. I'm pretty sure the one I opened this in was in one of those videos that didn't get uploaded, but maybe it's in like the last video I uploaded. But regardless, we're gonna do it again today just to be safe. We have the caramel brulee Barismo flavored coffee. So we're gonna go ahead and get this loaded in here. There's probably enough left. There's not much in these specialty Christmas coffees. I have 3 of them. We've also got the peppermint mocha and the holiday blend. I don't know what the holiday blend's supposed to be. That sounds like it's just normal coffee that's made for selling more coffee at Christmas, you know? Peppermint mocha is pretty obvious, and so is this caramel brulee. Give me a chance to tap this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was a lot of tapping on that one. It was a little too big. 5, and that one was a little small to compensate. All right, I am compensating for something in case you guys have wondered. It is my tiny pea-sized brain. So, yeah, basically I just had like very deep seasonal depression with a side of autism is how I would explain it. Um, I want to be clear right here when I say that I'm not officially diagnosed, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out I am on the spectrum. I'm just using the words colloquially, not in a clinical sense. But yeah, basically, I'll get this thing. There's many reasons why I think I'm partially on the spectrum, and one of them is I will get that like disassociative level of what word am I looking for? Like withdrawal and what? Is that not going in the pot? Okay. I think now it is. There's like boiling shit. Yes, I know I would need to clean the coffee thing off bad. It's a plan for this week. At the base of the pot, I'm hoping it's just water that leaked through. It doesn't seem to be getting any taller. So we're going to assume it's just water that leaked through when I was pouring the water in and it was all empty. The coffee does appear to be going in the coffee pot. It would be making a bigger mess by now, I think. Okay, anyways. Sometimes I exhibit aspects of ADHD a little bit too, but not like he should change his name to XQHD because everyone would know what the fuck he means, you know? Anyways, uh, is Isn't XQHD a way better brand, or am I just on something here? So yeah, I spent like 2 weeks in a seasonal depressive state. And then I made like 2 videos over the course of 2 or 3 days. I was like, I'm going to be back to streaming. I think I maybe streamed once or twice. And then I went back into a seasonal depression state. And the first time, it was like the autistic gaming type stuff. And I've actually, when I was very young, I mean, I was in middle school, high school, but it feels like very young now, right? Um, I had this guitar teacher, and I'd go over to their house, and they had an autistic child. And while specifically with Asperger's, like actually diagnosed Asperger's syndrome, or whatever they call it now, because apparently that guy was a Nazi. But I'd go over for my guitar lessons, and her kid would just be locked into video games like I had never seen on a level before. And so I like talked to my dad a little bit. I asked him about it, and he told me all about Asperger's, and he knows all about it because he is a graduate professor of clinical psychology. So, yeah, literally an expert on the subject. And they kind of explained the whole thing to me. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Never once did I realize that I had some of those tendencies myself until I got much, much older, you know? It's like, it's not even right to call it depression, truly, because it's not actually depression anymore. Like, I used to get really depressed during the cold months where I just actually felt depressed. Now, I would say it looks like depression, but, and I guess you could call it clinical depression, but it's not like colloquial depression, right? It's more just like a lack of motivation, a lack of interest in anything, a lack of emotional connection to anything. And it always happens when that funky white shit starts coming down. That bullshit. That's what I'm talking about. Usually 3 times per year, right? The first one was the little one, the little blip that happened at the beginning of November. That one always gets me because, well, October 29th is my birthday, and I'm not a fan of my birthday. And then, like, Halloween brings me back up. But then immediately after that, it's like, great. Now I've got this fucking stressful ass holiday season where it's just going to get cold, and I'm going to be miserable all the time, and I'm going to be stressed out because all of these social things I have to do, which always have like some level of pomp and circumstance to them. And it's not like Halloween where you just fucking show up and have a good time, you know? So like the first one always hits after Halloween as the fact that we're moving into the holiday season starts to set in. The second one, usually early December, whenever the snow really starts coming down. Like the first time that I can't go to the store to get more coffee without shoveling my vehicle out or sliding down there on the sidewalks on my boots the whole way, that's when the second one hits. And then the third one, that one's usually in February, right around the second week, specifically for no random reason. But that one's more of just like, okay, it's been cold for 3 months already. How the fuck is it still cold and getting colder sometimes still? And It would be nice if I had someone to keep me warm, although totally unrelated to any holidays in that month. So yeah, um, the weird thing is, I'm very familiar with this pattern now, but I always seem to forget to account for it. And I guess it's two things. One is, at least now, I'm so focused on my goals that I don't notice the passage of time in the way I used to. Like, ever since COVID, my entire perception of time has been totally fucked. But at this point, too, it's like, oh, it's November? I thought it was still May type of thing, you know? And then by the time I realize it's November, it's not even November anymore, it's December. So, I think that's one aspect of it, right? It just sneaks up on me because I'm so busy that before I even recognize it, I'm like, oh, damn. A whole 8 months have gone by and it's that time again, isn't it? The other is because I'm maybe at times too optimistic, right? I'm glad I didn't end up uploading those other videos. At least I didn't think I did. If I did, then, well, me in the past, you're a lying asshole. How dare did you lie to your viewers and disappoint them like that? But uh, I was very confident that I was over the seasonal depression for the second little hump. God, my hand just hurts today. There's a fucking demon in it. And um I was specifically saying, yo, we're gonna be I think I literally said I'm gonna be live later this night in a couple hours. And I specifically talked about stopping the upload schedule so that I could go live, and then it never happened. But we have conquered the depression demon for now. I will say that much and nothing more. Um, Really, my plan is to go all out 2026. Hopefully, the renovations here will be done early in the year. The plan is to, like, as far as I know, have everything done by early to mid spring. That means the thing that takes up most of my time will no longer be taking up most of my time. And I'm just looking at the snow. It's now that it's not coming down sideways. Well, it's still coming down sideways out those windows. It's coming down straight out this window, which is kind of funny. It's coming down sideways out those ones and like literally 30-degree angle away. It's just nice and calm and kind of picturesque. Guess it's just the air currents around the house, you know? But it's actually kind of nice when I look out this way if everything weren't so cold and dead and barren. I can't imagine what it must be like to live in Alaska or Siberia. I know that Alaska is really beautiful and wild during the warmer months, but there's not that many warmer months. I just don't think I could deal with being in such a frigid ass place for so long. Um, no focus today, but whatever, that's fine. So, yeah, the big thing, let's just make it a mental health focus, right? Because why don't I call it, why do I have hiccups? I have these fucking hiccups today that I haven't been able to get rid of. I don't remember the last time, uh, I don't remember the last time I had hiccups. What the fuck is wrong with me? Aren't hiccups kind of like a medical mystery? Like we sort of know what it is, but also sort of don't, because I think there's many things that can cause them. Oh. Oh. I thought I had it. I can normally defeat the just by like meditating for a moment with mind over matter, but it's really hard to do that when the video's live. I was thinking like too much silence, and I wasn't able to focus on just on just beating the hiccups. So, what the fuck is going on? All right, they're getting worse. Hey, Charlie. Oh, you want to come up on my lap? Okay. I'm drinking coffee and recording a video, kitty. All right. So, um, why do I not call it depression? If you look at it from like a standpoint of clinical depression, um, which is the things I described earlier, as far as I'm aware, there's like a slight misunderstanding, I think, in society between clinical depression and colloquial depression. Like a lot of times, society thinks depression just means, like suicidal thoughts, like, oh my God, I'm worthless, that type of stuff. But clinical depression is often more of a subconscious type of depression where you don't really, you just don't show up, I guess is the best way to put it. In a video that's probably going way too long because I keep getting distracted by my hiccups and random bullshit. uh, uh, I'm sure there are psychologists or psychiatrists that might disagree with my very non-scientific expression of clinical depression is just consistently not showing up for life, but I think that's what I'm sticking with regardless, because the side they can't even agree with each other these days. um, there's a replication crisis is what it's called in the field of psychology and psychiatry, where basically what that means is a lot of the scientific journals that are published are scientifically worthless, or at the very least scientifically dubious, because there's no way to repeat the experiment. um, there's a list of three things that make good science. And I believe it's good science is observable, measurable, and repeatable, right? And really, psychology has always struggled with all of those, right? Because you can argue, like, well, um, if all you have is this information about this survey that someone answered and wrote down on a piece of paper, and we can't even verify the accuracy of that. Um, First of all, is that even observable? Because you can't actually see their brain; it's just hearsay. Second of all, how measurable of that is that? But the third thing about that is it is kind of repeatable, right? You just give the survey to other people with similar demographics. But these days it's doing a lot better with observable. Measurable's questionable, but we can actually like scan someone's brain while we show different pictures to different eyes and see how their emotional centers light up and things like that. So we're definitely making strides within the observable sphere. Measurable is interesting because uh, you could argue that it might be. Hey, there's a deer out there. Let me go get my 270. No, I'm kidding. Uh, I've never been hunting. I used to have my hunter's permit, but it was more so I could get access to the shooting range to practice. Although I would very much like to go someday because I feel that that is a necessary skill for a man to have that most people have lost these days. Uh, I know how to do it, but there's a difference between taking the class to get your hunter's license and actually going out and taking your first buck, you know? But also, I would absolutely want to skin that fucker myself if I could. um, or at least have someone assist me and show me how to do it. The first fish I ever filleted, that was a bit of a mess. I cut too deep into the spine, and there was just fish blood everywhere. It was delicious, though. I don't like fish, anything that has a fishy taste to it, but this wasn't even that bad. It was mostly bass, so it didn't taste like anything really. Like it was like tofu, except it was fish. You know, there was like no flavor. But that was way better than the fish flavor. You know, throw some breading on that, like instant. So like fresh bass, breaded and fried in butter in a pan. Actually sounds really good right now, and I don't even like fish. But the better one was walleye. So I didn't catch this. I caught like 11 bass that trip, but we had a guide with us. He was only with us for the first half of the week, I think. But I think it was like the day he left, actually. We would just spent the whole day fishing, and I caught a bunch of bass. I don't know if it was actually 11. It might have been 7. Uh, whatever number it was, it ended up being one less because we had a stringer. Basically, you put the string through the fish's lip, and you like use a what the fuck's that called? The spikes that you put in the ground. I don't remember what the thing is called. You use a tent spike to stick your stringer in the ground, but you leave the fish in the water. That way, they're still caught, but they also still are live until you're ready to cut them and cook them and eat them fresh, right? Well, while we were sitting there on the campsite and my stringer was in the water, I think it was 7. I'm pretty sure it was 7. I think maybe together everyone caught 11. Maybe I had 5. The number doesn't matter. The important thing is that we caught a lot of bass. I think everyone caught bass except the guy who caught a walleye. And apparently, northern pike are very common there, but they're hard to catch because they have really sharp teeth. I, I had one of my lines snap. My dad is convinced that I had a northern pike on the line and I was fighting with it. I'm pretty sure it was just stuck on a log or a boot or something in the bottom of the lake. And eventually, just after all that tugging, the line snapped. But my dad is still convinced to this day that I had a northern pike on the line and that it broke the line and bit the line and broke the line. And that's why it got away. But I was just happy with catching at least like half a dozen bass. That was the most fish I've ever caught in one trip ever. And the guide was teaching us how to fillet them. While we were doing that, we had the bass in the lake on the stringer, and a group of turtles come up and just start tearing our bass to pieces. I was so mad. I'm honestly, legitimately mad. I think we lost two or three of them to the turtles. They were like, "Oh look, and all you can swim buffet. They can't even run away. We just swim right up to them and start munching on them." But anyways, the walleye was so good. It tasted like turkey. And now I don't remember what I was saying before that. What am I talking about, Charlie? You definitely helped with getting me distracted. So here's the thing. My brain can handle one or two distractions and then come back to it. But when I have hiccups and then Charlie jumping on my lap and it's like all starts stacking like that, it becomes a spiral. And speaking of spirals, my placemats are spiral. You see this? It's like a little spiral. Anyways, I really need to meditate to get these fucking shits to go away. But we'll do that once the video's done. So, oh yeah, I want to talk about mental health. Again, specifically depression. And what I want to talk about specifically doesn't have to do with me. Now that I've spent 30 minutes talking about myself, we're going to spend 3 minutes talking about someone else and try to pretend like this video wasn't all about me. I'm okay with them being about me, though. One last aside before I get to what I really want to talk about today. And it's just short. It's just something I want to say. No big conversation. I'm going to throw a little bit of everyone in this first one back, right? Everything. So I've thought a lot about my content and what I'm doing with it and how much time I spend on it and all kinds of things this past month, basically. And one thing I can say for certain is that I'm going to continue doing these vlogs even if nobody else ever watches them. There's 3 reasons, I think. One is I recently saw a Hi Me in 10 Years video that Mr. Beast did for himself. I recorded one of those videos too, although mine's like fucking 2 hours long. His is like 20 minutes, mine's like 2 hours, because why wouldn't it be, right? And I already hate half the things I said in that. I'm sure 10 years from now, I'm gonna look back and be like, Jesus Christ, why was I so fucking cringe, you know? But it's kind of why I did it. I want to be able to see how far I've come from today, or potentially how far I've fallen, you know? Because in a way, this is my rock bottom. Some ways I'm doing better than ever before, specifically spiritually. But there are other ways. This is like the lowest I've ever been in my life. And I know it's not the rock bottom. In fact, I'm pretty sure that some people have reached depths in life. You done now? I was playing with the cat, this little twisty tie, and it was sitting on my lap, and I had it going off over the edge of the table, and it was reaching for it. That's what was keeping me distracted, kind of. Um, Look, definitely mentally, there are places where I was at rock bottom before, and I'm not now. And spiritually, I'm definitely above my rock bottom. But as far as like my ability to financially care for myself, it's lower now than it's ever been at any point in my life. And you know what? That makes me think of something. When we when my parents took me out for my birthday, we went out to get Chinese buffet. I don't think I've had Chinese in about a year, unless you count those fucking instant microwave dinners, but I don't. I mean, like real Chinese takeout or buffet or sit down. And I don't think I've been to a Chinese takeout in like 2 or 3 years. So that was awesome. I'm really glad they did that for me. And, you know, at the end, they give you those fortune cookies. I thought more, I know they're just Barnum statements, right? If you don't know what a Barnum statement is, it's from Barnum and Bailey. And it's basically how a lot of those mystics and stuff will convince you that they have superpowers. You know, they do a combination of leading statements and questions, a little bit of fishing, and um, Barnum statements, and then your confirmation bias does the rest. Um, Barnum statements are things that will apply most days to most people, or even if they don't actually apply, people will like to think of themselves in that manner, right? So, like, you are a hardworking and dedicated individual. That's a Barnum statement. You could say that to like probably 70% of the population and not more, and they just straight up agree with you. They'd be like, yeah, yeah, you're right. um, Now there are things that you can get like and so what the fuck am I even talking about? Well, I'll just continue down that train of thought because maybe we'll find out where it was going. So what the mystics and stuff will do is they'll start with a very simple, wide range one like that. To then they'll narrow it down a little bit. You're very hardworking, and I forget the other word I used was. caring we're going to use for now. You're a very hardworking, caring individual, but you feel underappreciated in your life. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah. And it's not just friends, it's family. Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is so revolutionary. No one ever before in their entire life has ever felt like they're a hardworking and caring individual that isn't appreciated by their friends and especially their family, except for literally everyone in the entire goddamn world has probably felt like that at least at some point in their lives, right? So this is how they get you on the hook, and then they keep spiraling down and down with um, leading questions that will get you to offer up extra information, and then they'll use that extra information to intuit the the next step. Why am I talking about this? Anyways, oh, because this is the Barnett statement that I'm holding in my hand. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's just a little thing of wisdom. So most of these fortune cookies, they're I've noticed like three general types of statements, but I know there's like a whole science behind fortune cookies, or at least an art. And the three types of statements I've noticed are funny ones that are effectively Barnum statements, like I've had fortune cookies. There was this one place I used to go to. Their fortune cookies weren't um, fortunes. They were more like words of affirmation, Barnum statements type things, you know? And then, um, did I say the funny ones? So you have the Barnum statements, and then uh, the words of affirmation, the Barnum statement, words of affirmation, the funny ones, and then the like semi-serious actual fortunes, right? I think this one falls mostly. No, this is like the wisdom. Oh, I guess there's four. So there's like serious wisdom. There is irreverent or funny stuff. There is the general Barnum statements, and then there's the kind of legit fortunes ones. This one in particular is one of the simple wisdoms one, but I of all the times we've done Chinese fortune cookies, and it's a lot. You guys have no idea how much Chinese takeout I ate in college. Um, I've never seen so many fortunes that were so accurate to the individual at the same time. And there's only been one other one that had such a profound effect on me that I decided to keep it. I don't remember what it was, but hopefully I'll find it someday. Hopefully I haven't lost it. I'll find it the next time I need that little bit of wisdom again, right? And I guess this is what I've been struggling with for the past 2 months. But um, the one I got, it says, I don't know if it's gonna, it's not gonna come into focus. Hey, if you've got a magnifying glass, you can read it, I guess. I'll read it for you. It says, "Don't let financial." Oh my God, I need to clip and clean my nails. That's disgusting. Uh, don't let financial stress define your worth. Well, that's almost inconceivable for me. I'm not quite as guy as bald in the guy. I'm not quite as bald as the guy in that meme yet, but I'm getting there, and it's mostly due to financial stress. Right, my last 5 years have been nothing but financial stress, and then like the last 50 minutes of hiccup stress. But it's like re- really weird trying to be a person who just wants to do the right thing and love everyone and make everyone happy in a world where that's basically not allowed. You know, it seems like I get punished whenever I do that kind of stuff. Or at the very least, I don't know if punishment is the best way to describe it, but that's what it feels like. You know, no good deed goes unpunished. I feel like sometimes my whole life has been a test case for that because I'm not going to go through and list all the times right now. That's not what this is about. But let's just say that there are times where I went out of my way to do the right thing, and worse things happen to me because of it. Like if I just done the shitty thing or even the neglectful thing, just walked away, uh, I would have gotten off. Not gotten off puts it the wrong way. It's almost like a uh, there would have been no consequences, or there would have even been benefits. But because I chose to do the right thing, there were negative consequences. And especially in a modern society that is demanding more money from you constantly. Okay, I was thinking about another aspect of it too. I wish I could just beam thoughts into your head because my brain thinks about 100 times faster than my mouth moves. So I'm on like entirely other concepts of this right now. But let me bring myself back to the center. We were talking about, okay, yeah. So we'll go back to this point first and then pick up on the second point later. So the big thing is life keeps getting more and more expensive, and it is becoming both easier but also more difficult to earn money than ever before. Now, what do I mean in that? At that? Well, in some ways, the ceiling is higher than it's ever been. Um, that's not the right way to put it. There is no ceiling, right? And a purely just in a modern globalized economy where with capitalism as a base for most economies, um, the sky is the limit. So especially with lots of online things like content creation or uh, crypto trading, you can theoretically make infinite amounts of cash, right? It's not like working a retail job or working in a glass mill or a coal mine where you knew I'm going to make $40,000 this year and you could plan for that. It's more volatile in that you might make $40 this month, or you might make 40K in 1 month, right? So, it's starting to really come down now. I can't see that deep into the woods anymore. I've lost the ability to see the other houses. That's not good. The last thing I want is more snow. That means more for me to shovel later. Um, but it's like literally you can just keep going up and up and up. So that's why it's easier. Right? Anyone with a smartphone can go sit at a free Wi-Fi access point and start a drop shipping company, right? Now, whether or not that drop shipping company is going to be successful is a whole other question in and of itself. But the point is there's more potential for upward mobility than ever before. Perhaps in the history of the world, but definitely in the history of the United States economy, right? And that's a great thing. But that that is a contributing factor to why it's more difficult to make money than ever before. And there's another really important factor, well, two other really important factors as well. Um, so, because there's basically infinite upward mobility in modern American society, it means there's a lot more competition, right? Where it used to be you were only competing with a few people in your local town for this one job. You're now competing with everyone on LinkedIn or Indeed for this job who might not even be in state, but could be considering moving to the state and would be willing to move because they have family in the area or something like that. So all of a sudden, jobs where you were competing against 5 people, you're now competing against 500 people for that job. And that's not necessarily an exact scale, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were some jobs where that's the case, right? So it's harder than ever to find something traditional than before, simply because of that upward mobility and connectivity. That's the first factor, which is also a boon, right? Because you can keep looking forever, but because there's a lot more competitiveness, it's going to take you longer and require more dedication and effort. Um, though again, payoff's probably going to be bigger. I was looking at some freelancing stuff this week, and or literally before, today before I started this video, and there are certain freelancing positions. People make 400K freelancing $20 an hour. I know people that work 80, sorry, 20 hours a week. People make 400K a year freelancing for approximately 20 hours a week, which is equivalent of a part-time job if you're not aware. 20 hours is part-time, 40 hours is full-time. I think some industries have exceptions. I'm not sure, but technically, in most industries, if you're working over 40 hours a week, they need to give you benefits, and if you work too much more than that, they need to pay you overtime. But I was looking at these statistics. Now, of course, this is the extreme upper echelon of like um business consultants and stuff like that. But there are people that make easily 400K a year freelancing for 20 weeks, 20 hours a week. Um, 10 years, I probably wouldn't have believed. 10 years ago, or I, pro- I probably wouldn't have believed that was possible. Um, at least not unless you're like some kind of niche super business consultant thing, right? There's always that one guy that gets paid $1 million to come into the office for 2 weekends, and he tells you to change like two things and gets his paycheck and leaves, right? Um, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, right? Because maybe that was the special sauce. That was like he fixed the very thing that was causing your company to hemorrhage money or um, fail to achieve your market saturation or whatever, right? There's an old joke. There's a ship that comes into town and it has a broken propeller on the back. So uh, they need to. It's not well. It's not the broken propeller itself. The screws are fine, but one of them won't turn for whatever reason. Um, it managed to get into port under partial power, but before it can leave and continue back on its journey, it needs all its engines running. So they have the harbor master come look at it and his mechanics, and they can't figure out what's wrong with it. Like, utterly mind boggled. They're like, yeah, we don't know why. It should be working, but it's not working. And then they said, all right, we'll call in this master shipwright. So they call in the master shipwright or engineer. Like, I don't know if a shipwright would be working on engines technically, right? But they call in his uh, ship engine expert, and he shows up for pokes around for a little bit, pulls out his hammer, taps 3 times, and then tells him to turn on. Fires up perfectly. All right, that'll be $2,000. The guy that owns the ship, he's like, $2,000? You were here for 10 minutes. What am I going to pay you $2,000 for 10 minutes? Um, I'm going to need that itemized. The guy's like, all right, here's your itemized receipt. $10 for the hammer, $20 for my travel fees and gas, and $1,970 for knowing how to use the hammer and where exactly to hit with it and how hard. Right? So, in that case, you're not paying for the 10 minutes of work. You're paying for the knowledge and experience of that man has that allows him to fix in 10 minutes what other people couldn't figure out in an entire day, right? So I'm not saying anything against like people that get paid $1 million to come in and do like one consultation over the course of a week or a month or whatever. Uh, some of them are worth that price. What I am saying is that most of the traditional jobs and the traditional ways to earn money are gone or disappearing. And if you're still doing them, um, you're kind of just a fool, right? And the reason why is because looking at a lot of these job applications right now, they're charging, they're paying less money than I was making 15 years ago when I started working in high school, and expecting you to do more for that less money, right? So that's the second way. If we ever get back, God, I'm so off topic today. I got 5 minutes to wrap this up. I don't want to go over an hour. Um, that's the second way to that it's possible to make more money than ever, but also harder to make more money than ever. In that respect, you have people that need to work 3 or 4 jobs just to cover their family's base living expenses, when that should never be a thing. Everyone should only need to work one job. And if you want to work a second job because that's what's fulfilling for you, or you want extra money, or you have like a vacation that you want to dedicate your time to, that should be optional. You should only ever need to work one job to cover all of your life things. Because here's the thing, all of those are full-time jobs. That's how you have people working 80 hours a week, right? Because they're literally working 2 full-time jobs, but each full-time job only pays half of their expenses. If it's not paying full-time money, it shouldn't be a full-time job, you know? Um, the third thing, can I even remember it? Nope, because I spent so long rambling. But needless to say, I've been wrestling for this with 2 months, because all I've been trying to do is increase my worth and lower my financial stress for the past 5 years now. And right when I'm feeling like the most amount of pressure from the most number of sides, I get this damn thing that says, don't let financial stress define your worth. When that's literally the mindset I've been stuck in for the past 5 years. And I want to clarify that, right? Because I don't care about materialism, really. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have a Ford GT. I also want a Ford 427. Wait, 429? Uh, I can't remember. I want a 69 Mustang Boss. I don't remember which uh, finished version or whatever you call I like better. But the 1969 Mustang Boss is the best muscle car, probably the best car ever created, in my opinion. I also want some kind of off-road vehicle and an electric vehicle. Now, the off-road vehicle and the electric vehicle are utility vehicles, right? I'm going to use them for like work or commuting or things like that. The Mustang Boss and the Ford GT supercar, absolutely just fun things, right? But at the same time, I wouldn't ever buy those until like all of my bills were paid. I'd set up my own charity fund, all kinds of things like that, right? That's well, maybe the Mustang. The Mustang's a little bit cheaper, but the Ford GT supercar, that's something else, right? Okay, we're going over an hour. Fuck it. Um, I'll just do a short 10-minute blurb afterwards that I'll upload to the other places. That's what we're doing. So what is okay, yeah. Keep in mind I'm not materialistic at all. I generally don't even care about things so much, except for in a kind of on the spectrum way a little bit. Um, like, it's more about the idea of certain emotions behind things rather than the things themselves. Like, what are the things that I have that I value the most? Well, top among them would be my firearms, because I believe it is the most important duty of every man to protect the people he loves and to stand tall in the face of evil. So those are the thing that gives me the greatest ability to do that. If you ask me, um, out of all of my possessions, if I could only keep one item, what would it be? Uh, it'd be my Springfield XD Mod 2. Um, I value my guitars because those, ironically, I don't even really play them much. Those are an opportunity for expression. They're an investment in a future I haven't realized yet. And something I'm going to be taking more advantage of in the near future. Um, I value my computer. I don't really value my phone, interestingly enough. The phone means like nothing to me, to the point where I'm not even good at responding to people on the phone. It's like almost non existent to me, except when I record these videos. I just forget it exists. I value my computer though. I think one of the reasons is I built that from scratch by hand. Um, it's entirely custom built. Two is it's like in some ways my throne, I guess you would say, because it's where I feel I wield the most power through the writing that I do, the conversations that I have with people, and the content that I create, right? Um, and through online notes in my note apps, through stuff in my Google Drive, and just stuff on the hard drive itself, it's also building a future. It's potentially millions or billions of dollars worth of intellectual property, right? It's also one of the few things that makes life bearable, right? In the past, I've talked about how there's like no real joy in my life. There's not generally anything I look forward to. I don't really feel like there's a reason to get up in the morning, but I do it anyways. Most of the time, I haven't really done it much this past month, but I'm here now again, right? Um, I do, I wouldn't say joy, but I find solace in gaming. You know, I like talking with my nerdy Star Wars friends about geeky shit and having deep conversations about nuances in the lore in my Star Wars role playing game group. I like talking with my friends in the Black Rose Order about like all the various random ass games we play. You know, I'm going hard on Warframe, But Preacher and the others, they're looking into other games right now, some mobile games. That mobile MOBA. Why can't I recall what it's called? Uh, I love that community so much. That's the only. Now, I'm not saying this to like any of the other gamer or streamer communities I've been a part of. I appreciate all and every single one of you. Uh, but I'd say that's like the only gaming community I've been a part of in the modern age that almost feels like a real old school clan, you know? Um, Back in the old school days of gaming clans, where you'd have a group of friends that would all game together across multiple games, different walks of life, different backgrounds. Now, to be fair, a lot of those guys are all from, if not still in, the Bronx area. They're also um, many of them are part of this group called the Bronx Gaming Network. All really cool people over there too. So it's definitely not as widely spread out demographically as like say my Star Wars role playing group, where a bunch of my faction is Polish to the point where we literally have a whole channel in the Discord that is just for the Polish speakers, right? So, but even though a lot of those guys are from the same area of New York, one, a lot of them have moved to other areas at this point. Two, they've always been very welcoming and just fun, chill people. And you know, some people have come and gone. I I've never really gone in the way that others have, but I definitely have spurts of activity here and there. But it it makes life a little more bearable having those people to just be like, "Hey guys, I uh I ranked up the Warframe dojo. What do you guys been into lately?" And they'll like tell me about the new monster that released in Monster Hunter that they killed or something. And I just think that's really cool, right? Just a group of dudes that are literally just about playing video games and having fun with it and nothing else. Like a literal old school gaming clan. I love that. So like the PC is all of those things to me, right? Uh I more value what's on the PC than the PC itself, but I do value the PC because I built it, you know? But I'd still say it's not in a materialistic way. Probably the closest thing I come to in terms of materialism, Magic the Gathering cards, right? Because like they're pieces of paper worth a cent, if that, that you paid multiple cents to it, a few dollars for. And occasionally, some of them is a shiny piece of paper that's worth maybe 2 cents that Post Malone paid $2 million for. I don't know if that's what the actual amount was, but um, I think it's Post Malone, and I think it was around that amount. There was recently a Lord of the Rings set that had, as part of it, the One Ring. Now, there was more than one Ring. but there was only one, the One Ring. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, the card was printed multiple times. I think it was a normal rarity value. It could have been super rare, mythic rare, it's called. Uh, their common is black, uncommon is silver, rare is gold, and red is mythic rare. Um, and then beyond mythic rarity, you have promos and things like that. Uh, I, I don't know technically what this qualified as. We'll call it a promo. But there was a promo card that released with the set that was a special art version of the One Ring. That not only did it have special art and I think a slightly different drawing or like a full art card instead of just the image, you can look it up. But it's also got the whole thing's written in Elvish, I'm pretty sure. And it became the most expensive Magic the Gathering card ever. And by a huge margin. Because I think before that, it was the Black Lotus, which would go from 3 to 5 grand. Although they've been trying to feed off some of the dark patterns in human society lately with some of the more recent sets. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's other new set cards that are similarly sought after, like the One Ring that just didn't reach that level. And I just didn't know that it's like, oh yeah, there's this special version of Kozliak that was going for 8K. It's like, oh cool. And I didn't know that. Anyways, um, that's probably the closest thing I come to any level of materialism, right? I have this collection of cards, and it's not even a huge collection. I've lost huge amounts of it over the years, to be fair. Um, it's like a moving box, maybe a moving box and a half. I'm pretty sure it used to be close to two, maybe three moving boxes, but it is what it is. Um, and mostly that was just from playing since I was like 15 or 16, maybe younger than that, right? I started in Boy Scouts at summer camp and stuff. Uh, I started in Onslaught and 7th edition and Legions era, whenever that was. Um, one of my first decks was the 7th edition green elemental deck that came with it was like a starter deck that came with Thorn Elemental on the front. And I still have a version of that deck today. It's evolved into like a full size, just straight elemental deck. Well, I still have the Thorn Elemental in it too, but I don't think it's the original one, to be honest. I think I lost my original Thorn Elemental, and then I got two others later. And one of them is 7th edition, but one of them is a different edition. But, anyways, that part's irrelevant. Um, I have other kind of broken elements in it, like Vigor. If you don't know what Vigor is, look that card up. It's stupid, especially in a good elemental green deck. Um, but the point is, that's the one thing that I get super, that it's like a possession, you know? But if you can't tell from that little random thing, it's like more about the memories and the nostalgia. You know, I can tell you about the first time I encountered a blue mill deck. It was, I don't want to say names or anything because I'm sure it's only a matter of time until I become a pretty controversial figure in 2026. I am not afraid to say what's on my mind these days, and I know that I don't have any type of following yet, but I know um, it's not the choir that follows me that's going to bring attention to me, right? It's going to be one stupid idiot asshole that's like, hey, I need to make the internet cancel this guy. And then I'm going to wind up canceling the internet. So I don't want to bring negative attention on anyone with anything, which is why I'm always very careful not to mention names unless it's something, it's like another content creator or something like that. My policy is if they're a content creator, if they're in the space, then they're fair game. But if they're not a content creator, they don't, I won't mention their names. And it's not just like, oh, they have social media, so that makes them a content creator. No, if they're, unless they're like specifically creating content as a hobby or a job and not just like using social media regularly, they don't count. So I'm not going to tell you the name, but it was this adult advisor, a doctor, and of all the people I can remember, he was really the only adult that had anything to do with magic, or at least that would actually involve himself with magic with the kids. For the most part, it was just me playing games against like three or four other dudes, right? And one of the other dudes, he would also do tabletop RPGs, kind of like D&D, but it was all homebrew stuff, at least as far as I'm aware. Um, so even like the one thing that I would say is on my possessions list that is closest to materialistic, it's about the memories, right? Um, One of the decks I lost back in the day, and part of me for a long time suspected that one of the other scouts stole it because it was like brutally powerful, right? And he would get really frustrated because he had this big deck with a whole bunch of expensive cards in it. And I had a deck with like three rares. I don't think a single mythic rare and a bunch of commons and uncommons. And it would just utterly thrash him every single time. I probably had like a 90% win ratio against that guy. So it was a mono black zombie deck with Soulless One as the main centerpiece. And if you're not aware, Soulless One is a zombie avatar and was a a series of um, tribal part of a series of tribal avatars that were blank something one. Like I think there was a wizard one that was called Mindless One, and they had um, star power toughness, which means that it's the cards power and toughness are defined by some kind of field effect or ability, and they're not just printed on the card like a normal card. Grizzly bear, for example, two power, two toughness. Or you can have the ox. I forget what that's called. Kind of ridiculous card. I think it's one mana for zero power, four toughness. That card breaks things. um, this was star, and its power and toughness were, I believe, each equal to the number of zombies on the battlefield plus the number of zombies in my graveyard or all graveyards or something like that. But it was kind of a ridiculous deck. I had two other pieces that were really important for it. One was, God, I can remember the art. That's one of my favorite things about the Magic cards, the art and the little snippets of lore and the flavor text. Um, Skin Stitcher or something like that, I feel like now. It's a Bone Stitcher, maybe. It's an image of a dude, of a zombie, and I think he's wearing a red shirt or pants. And it's like either his arm or his leg has fallen off and he's sewing it back on. That guy was huge because one, he had an ability that was regenerate target zombie, which is broken as fuck. Just to be able to regenerate target something, that's a really strong mechanic in the game. Regeneration on its own is a very strong mechanic that's very hard to counter. When I can just do targeted regeneration, yeah, that's a piece you need to remove very quickly. I think it also had it had another effect. I forget what the other effect was. It might have allowed me to sacrifice, but I had another effect specifically that would allow me to sacrifice. So I could basically keep a revolving door of zombies and just throw them at uh, the enemy, right? Over and over again. And very simple, straightforward deck. One of the strongest decks in the entire camp. Very cheap deck. And it would beat the shit out of that really expensive deck that the other kid had. I think part of the problem was he had no deck building skills because it was like a 100 card deck. And to be fair, I had no deck building skills back then because I had a couple 100 card decks. I didn't understand just how important consistency was back then and why you want to minimize your deck as much as possible in most formats. But I will never forget. I could do absolutely nothing against that blue mill deck with any of my decks. Um, I had a white cleric deck that I still have to this day, actually. I took it apart from being a standard 60 card deck and I made it into a commander or EDH, whichever term you prefer. I think they're the same thing, but just slightly different because they changed like two rules but between the formats. But I took all the pieces of that cleric deck, took them apart, turned it into an EDH deck. Uh, it's not the same deck because it did have the cleric avatar in it. Don't remember what that one was called, but it was one of the other blank ones. I don't think the new version has that, and I'm pretty sure I phased it out because it didn't work in the new version of the deck. But it does have, I think, one of my old standbys. It has a couple of the old standbys. I don't know if Gustcloak Savior made it in there. Gustcloak Savior is a really cool card that it allows you to just untap and remove your creatures from combat. So you can say, I'm attacking with everything. And then someone's like, okay, so I'm going to block your biggest creature with my biggest creature and kill it. And you're like, okay, I'm just gonna not attack with that creature anymore. And they're like, oh well, I'm gonna block this creature instead. Well, you're like, you can't. You've already declared it as blocking this creature. Like, well, that creature's not attacking anymore. I know it's not, but you've already declared you're blocking it. It's a really weird, stupid mechanic that's kind of broken a little bit if you know how to metagame it, right? And each Gust Cloak will do that to itself. But the thing about Gust Cloak Savior is I think it's technically a soldier because the Gust Cloak was a part of like a soldier and bird expansion deck I got. Um, that uh, that card will let you to do it with all your creatures, which I think is just broken. That had other cards like Achroma's Devoted which attacking doesn't cause clerics to tap, which it's called vigilance now. I'm trying to think of one of the ones that actually made it in to the final version. Beloved Chaplain. One of the most underrated, most broken cards in the game, if you ask me. I think he's a 1/1 cleric that costs 1 white mana and 1 generic. Protection from creatures. Oh my god, that thing is so stupid. There's just so many ways to break that card. One is he's like the best blocker ever, right? You can just put him in front of the BFM, which is a 99.99 that you need 2 pieces of the card to play it. It might have trample though. Does the BFM have trample? I don't remember. You can put it in front of any big vanilla thing without trample, and it's gonna stomp it cold. Someone can have some weird fucking token that's XX that they somehow manage to get to infinite attack power and defense power, and you can still just put that one chaplain in front of it, and it's gonna stop it cold. I love that card so much. And then, like, the crazy thing that a lot of people don't think from, like, protection doesn't just mean it can't be damaged by that. It means it can't be targeted by or protect or block that either. So what'll happen is a lot of people will try to remove it using another creature effect or ability, like Festering Goblin, for example. I think it's a 1/1 2 cost. It's either 1 cost or 2 cost. Zombie Goblin. When it dies, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. If I'm naming the wrong Zombie Goblin card, let me know in the comments, all right? But I think that's the right one. That is some of the best removal in the game, if you ask me. Because not only is it field presence, but it's also removal that's negative counters, which is one of the only ways to destroy an indestructible creature, right? So like if someone is ramping hard with Darksteel Myr, which is an indestructible artifact that will give you mana, you can use negative counters to destroy it. That might be a 0/2 creature, so it might need 2 negative counters to be destroyed. But like you can hit a Darksteel Myr with a 99 damage fireball. Well, you wouldn't use that fireball on the Myr, you'd use it on a player. But you could hit that Darksteel Myr with 20. I'm trying to think of something that will only target creatures, but it's been so long since I played. It's been a long time. Like 3 years at this point since I legitimately played Magic. Probably even longer than that, because COVID fucked all that shit up. Let's see. What was I saying? Anyways, no amount of damage can kill that Myr. And or Mir, however people pronounce it. Meyer, I've heard all of it. Literally, the only so one, all the creature versions ways to deal with him is relatively ineffective. But my favorite thing about him, especially that he's just like a little 1/1 unassuming, is there's a number of enchantments and equipments in the deck, because the whole deck, the commander is a 1 cost 1/2, I think, or something like that. That's a flip card, and he flips when he kills something but survives. So the deck has a lot of buffs in it that are designed to make that card strong enough to kill other weak creatures so it can flip, and then it starts scaling on people because it gains double strength. And I can promise you double strike. I can promise you a deck with a commander that has double strike just in general, but double strike with potential buffs. That is a turn. That is a deck that can one or two shot you uh, easily. If you don't know, um, the most oppressive deck we had in our player group, even better than you ask me than some of the better decks technically as far as its consistency and just overwhelming capability for victory was a Tarka. I think it's called a Tarka. There's a dragon commander that double strike flying and I believe it buffs and gives trample or something like that. Been again several years since I saw that card in person, but oh my god, brutal. That one is just in your face the whole time. The thing I like about this cleric deck that I have is he's like a little farmer that flips. I think he's a monk technically, but it's like a farmer is the image. So it's like not actually all clerics, but it's clerics and soldiers and monks, like simple white mana small individuals, like the beloved chaplain, a soldier here or there. And the cool thing about it is it doesn't seem like a threat until it flips. It's just like a 1/1 vanilla monk or whatever its stats are. But once it flips, it's suddenly a samurai with Bushido and double strike. And it starts to hurt, you know? It's surprisingly consistent at flipping, but I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. The most important thing is uh, the beloved chaplain card, because it has protection from creatures. It's just also like the sleeper one shot victory card, right? Because people see it mostly as like a kind of just a chump blocker that won't die, basically, you know, because it's not going to block anything with trample. If something like an Avatar of Might comes through, I am taking 7 damage to the face. Avatar of Might, if I remember correctly, it's an 8/8 trample. I think that has an alternate summoning option, but I'm not 100% sure about that. It has a second ability, I'm pretty sure, because each of the Avatar of series of avatars had secondary abilities. Like another very popular one from that era. That Might is the green one. I think the equivalent black one was Avatar of Woe. That one's really strong. That's one of the cards that I would love to have that I'm pretty sure I don't have. Or maybe it's the Avatar of Might I don't have. I'm gonna do a stream soon where I sort my Magic cards. Um, the thing about that chaplain though is he was the greatest sleeper one shot kill card because it's a mono white deck, right? So what I would do is I would just keep poking at them with my small little clerics, and there is some life game in it, but it's more about redirecting and preventing damage. There's a secondary win condition. You should always have 2 or 3 win conditions, at least in an EDH deck, right? Because one, less consistency. Two, what do you do if someone removes your win condition? And there's a lot of ways to shut down win conditions in Commander. The second win condition is Felidar Sovereign, which is a cat that says at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have more than 40 life, I think, or it's 40 or more life, you win the game. I think it's a 4/6 with lifelink and vigilance. So it can keep attacking repeatedly and will kill most things. Will kill like a lot of things in the game, but more importantly is the 6 health, where most things in the game can't kill it. So the thing is, you aren't even trying to deal damage with it when you're attacking with it at that point. You just want that 4 life gain to edge you closer to your victory um, life total. So win condition 1 is double strike commander damage to the face. Win condition 2 is Felidar Sovereign. Win condition 3, there is some um, small creature spam a little bit. You know, like you have all these little clerics that can tap, prevent 1 damage, or something like that. There's 2 white spells I have, and I think they're both still in there. I may have taken 1 out, where it basically just it's like Zerg stuff. One is like the white equivalent of Overwhelm, which is all of your creatures get +3/+3 and trample, a green spell, uh, until end of turn. I think it gives all of my creatures double strike and lifelink until end of turn. True Conviction or something like that. Am I thinking of the right card? And then there's another one. I don't remember what it does to make all my creatures stronger. But that's the third win condition. The third win condition for that deck is just to Zerg you with clerics. And like obviously how much I've been talking about this. It's something I care about a lot, really. It's the one thing I'm even remotely materialistic about, besides like gifts from family or friends or things that I relate to family or friends. Like I have a Nirvana shirt that has so many holes in it, it's totally unwearable. But I won't get rid of it because I bought that shirt from a high school friend, like not even someone I was like particularly close with, but someone I got along really, really well with. Never had a bad thing to say about this person or their brother. Um, I knew their brother, who they were, but I didn't actually know them. I think I met their brother like twice. But I bought this Nirvana shirt from that friend of mine like a couple weeks to maybe a couple months before he passed away in a car crash. I'm never getting rid of that t-shirt, no matter how many holes are in it. Because every time I see that t-shirt, it reminds me of this dude who I had so much love for that passed away while we were still in high school. Uh, I really vibed with him about music a lot. Hence the Nirvana shirt, right? He was kind of like another edgy loner rocker kid before, in a time when like rock music wasn't cool. I mean, I guess rock music hasn't been cool for a while, right? You know, that was kind of the start of the whole big hip hop taking over rock era. Maybe a little bit. No, I'd say that was exactly it, right? Because middle school, it was more like Backstreet Boys and that type of stuff. And then high school is when it got into like Eminem and uh, I guess Akon and Usher were just starting to get big at the end of middle school. Anyways, I'm really, really off topic now. I'm gonna go for 2 fucking hours. Actually, I'm not. I'm wrapping up. The point is, um, I've never been materialistic at all because as much as I care about those magic cards, when COVID first hit, I just left them in one of my friend's basements. They were there for probably a year, if not 2 or 3. Um, Probably $2,000 worth of magic cards, if not more. And not out of due to like any amount of like collecting rares or anything like that, but just I bought packs for 15 years while I was playing and doing Boy Scouts, right? Half the reason I got a job in the first place when I was in high school and middle school, as soon as I was allowed to work, even before I was allowed to work, doing like lawns and shoveling snow and stuff like that. Um, the entire reason I started working in the first place was just so I could buy magic card decks to play with my friends, right? I still just, so what I would do is I would take like one once per paycheck, I'd get like three booster packs or like a starter deck or something like that. A couple times a year, I'd get one of the more premium decks. I think starter decks were like 40, and the premium like pre-made decks were 60. I think packs were $7 a piece, right? So like three or four packs. Occasionally, I'd like skip, and I think I maybe bought the equivalent of like $60 worth of cards every month for however long I was doing that, right? I didn't do it the whole 15 years, but 8 to 10 years maybe, and not quite every month. That's just averaged out. You know, sometimes it would be 3 or 4 months in a row that I wouldn't spend a single cent on magic cards. But then there'd also be a time I'd go in and I'd be like, you know what? I want all three of those rares on the front of the pack. I'm gonna get three starter decks. You know, it was just a thing. Uh, but I'm now, for the past 5 years, have been forced to approach money in a way that I never have before, because it's like simply not possible for the vast majority of people in the world anymore, or in the US, we'll say at least, to just find a job, show up to your job, work hard, and go home and live a simple life where all of your ends are met, right? These days, if you're only working one job, unless it's a job that you're making over 100K, you're probably not meeting all of your bills, right? So it's like the one type of stress that has caused most of my hair to fall out the most over the past 5 years is financial stress. In fact, I'd say that's really the only stress I have that actually like affects me negatively in any kind of way. There's some stress due to loneliness, you know, being a single 35-year-old dude who doesn't have really friends in the area, or more importantly, a significant other. But at the same time, I'm like, well, friends can kind of just be a distraction, and it's really hard to make friends these days anyways, since like everyone's so politically polarized, and I don't belong to either of those groups. So it's like I either need to just have surface friends where I can't talk about anything except for like the chillest small talk with them, or I need to find people that have a more similar mentality to me, which is kind of just like fuck politics, they're all lying to you anyways. Or I need to find something that's even rarer, which is a person who can disagree with me but still just have a decent, open minded and intellectual and what's the word? Respectful conversation, uh, which is exceedingly rare these days. So, like, fuck friends, right? They don't even matter. But, uh, like, honestly, most of the people that did the most terrible things to me in my life had been friends at one point, and that's the only reason they got close enough to fuck me over the way they did in the first place. So, like, part of it is just me being jaded and being like, what's the point? You know, to borrow an old saying, with friends like these, who needs enemies, right? Uh, the other thing, though, as far as like the not having a significant other, I've been alone for so long now that the prospect of sharing my life with someone else is actually more annoying and frustrating than spending the rest of it alone. There's literally only one person I'm actually interested in right now. And she has zero awareness that I exist and probably always will, you know? Uh, unless I just happen to blow the fuck up out of nowhere. But that's highly improbable. The point is, uh, especially when I look at the modern dating landscape, and I have about this time last year, you know, the seasonal depression and loneliness were both really getting to me. And I started looking at different dating apps. Most of them were just trash, filled with nothing but bots and cam girls and scammers. But uh, I highly suggest you don't do any dating apps to begin with. I think the best place for you to meet someone is outside. I don't mean like outside, outside. I just mean like get off your phone and go do something, what word? Social. Like find something that either aligns with your personal interests or beliefs, or is something the type of person you're interested in would uh, if it would align with their personal interests or beliefs. And that is a great way to meet someone. You know, if you're really into outdoorsy stuff and you want someone like the thing you care about most, obviously, I think the most important things are like loyalty and honesty and respect. But as far as like little things like hobbies or interests, if the thing you care about most, it's like assuming all the other hallmarks of a good relationship are checked, like good communication, good trust, good loyalty, all that stuff. Um, if you just really want someone that you can go hiking with, join an outdoors club, you know? Go join a conservation community and spend time picking up trash and maintaining trails in your local park, right? Might meet someone there. If you want someone who's God fearing and devoted and pious, well, maybe try going to church more often. If you want someone who is muscular and athletic, maybe do a gym. Maybe sign up for a gym uh, membership. If you want someone who's cultured and worldly, go to some wine tasting events. Some wine, some taint tasting events. What? Yeah. Anyways, this whole video is wild. We're gonna wrap it up before we get to 2 hours, though. So that's really what I'm struggling with, I guess, mental health wise right now. It's been 5 years of this, but it's just kind of coming to a head because of all the pressure at the end of 2025 and the beginning of 2026. It actually pissed me off when I got this because it was just so on the nose. Literally, all I can think about at this point is my financial stress. And I've reached a point where even though I'm not materialistic by the traditional senses, sentimentalist, I would say. I'm definitely sentimental, very sentimental, to the point. Am I even saying that word right? Sentimental. That's the word. I was missing a few. What do they call? Syllables there. I'm gonna start a new show that instead of The Mentalist, which is like that fake. I think that's like the fake Sherlock Holmes show, if it's the one I'm thinking of. Because if I watched that, it wasn't like any other version of Sherlock Holmes I've ever seen before. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different one. Because one of those was good. There was a guy, there was one that was like a blonde, curly haired guy that was kind of like inspired by Sherlock, but not actually Sherlock. And then there was another one that had a dude that was like close cut hair with a widow's peak that was brown, that he was actually Sherlock. And I was like, this is the worst Sherlock I've ever seen. But I'm going to start a new show that's instead of The Mentalist, it's called The Centralist, or whatever the fuck I was saying without the other synonym in the syllable in the middle there. What the fuck? Why synonym? I can't just use my words today, apparently. But I don't believe we were meant to spend our whole lives obsessing over money. I don't believe we were meant to spend our whole lives grinding just to make ends meet. Now, I do want to make a clarification here. I do believe we were meant to work. Everything you look at, like our bodies, our minds, our spirits, the more you just sit around and do nothing, the less healthy they are. Every single one of them. The more you're active and working towards some goal, the better everything gets. Like, I think it was Asmongold that said this, which is ironic because considering it's exactly what he does all day. Human bodies weren't made to be stagnant. We're literally made to move, right? I think people often forget we are the deadliest apex hunter on the planet. what are our bodies designed to do, have been honed to do through like millions of years of evolution. Our bodies have been honed to kill other creatures. That is literally what our bodies are designed to do, to kill other creatures and to make more of our own kind, right? So, neither one of those things are, I mean, I guess the second one. I guess both can be in really roundabout ways. I was going to say neither one of those things are things that can be accomplished on the couch. But it's like these days, Obama can call drone strikes on weddings from his couch. And I'm sure there are plenty of desperate women out there who would love to ride your cock while you play Animal Crossing. But if you look at those things in a more natural setting, to actually kill another creature in hand-to-hand combat, you need to move. To actually truly make love to a woman the way that she deserves, or a man if that's your thing, or something in between if they're non-binary, you need to move, right? I forget who it was. Someone said, I think this is one of my favorite quotes of all time. Uh, any man who can kiss a girl while driving either isn't paying enough attention to the road or isn't paying enough attention to the kiss. Something along that line. I love that quote. That's a great one. But yeah, wrapping up. I got 3 minutes to do it. I think this whole mental health conversation is especially very important. One, not just because I'm dealing with seasonal depression, but two, because I know other people deal with seasonal depression, and three, because the mental health crisis is only getting worse. I saw something this morning where a woman 5 years younger than me, 6 years younger than me. Weird that I'm starting to call people in their 20s. I almost called her a young woman. Weird that I'm starting to call people in their 20s young, right? But I guess that's just where I'm at in life. She took her own life recently because people on the internet were bullying her over a fox rescue organization or something like that. Now, I don't know any of the details really. It seems like maybe she did something potentially wicked that people were trying to expose her for, but it also seems like, regardless, I don't think anyone should be harassed to the point where they commit suicide. That's just wrong. It's evil in every respect. If she actually did do something wrong, have the authorities look into it, animal control agencies, local police, FBI, if it goes across state lines. There's just organizations in place that are meant to deal with that. I feel like I'm losing faith in a lot of them. But regardless, even if you do end up needing to take things into your own hands because the government is becoming defunct, that bullying someone until they take their own life is just not the way to do it. I don't care what your philosophical or religious beliefs are, but That's just evil as fuck, no matter how much you might disagree with the person. And I don't think doing evil things to evil people is justified in any ways. I will say there are things that you might do to an evil person which you wouldn't, gray things, we'll call them, things that aren't necessarily evil but perhaps morally dubious, that you might be justified in doing to an evil person, but I would say would never be justified in doing to a non-evil person. But uh, there are some things that regardless of how evil the person is, you should just never sink to that level. And bullying someone into committing suicide is one of them. If the person is really, really that evil that you feel they need to be removed from this world, well, let's just say I personally believe that's something you should handle personally. Now, I do want to counter that by saying, in no way am I promoting or encouraging violence. I am not Marshall Mathers, but what my point is, don't be a coward, right? If it's one thing, but so I, on the other side, I don't know how bad this bullying actually was. I'm going to use bullying there with air quotes, just alleged bullying, right? Because I haven't really looked into the depth of it. I saw two Twitter posts and like a short video explaining that it happened. I don't know much of the details besides that. Michaela was her name. Save a Fox was like her organization. And I saw clips of her husband utterly broken up, distraught in tears because she took her own life because people bullied her on the internet. That's the narrative. Uh, Whether or not that's what actually happened still is yet to be determined, at least as far as I've seen, because I haven't looked at any of the details. But we have things like the whole Iron Mouse Rikai situation. I will readily say I don't know Iron Mouse beyond the fact that she's a VTuber that has like baby speak things going on. I can't stand listening to those clips. I can't stand any of those weird VTuber voices. I can't stand watching VTubers because it's like an uncanny valley thing for me. I'm a very visual person. I don't watch streamers without cams generally, like 99.9% of the time. There's a few exceptions for very close friends who I like already know their face and I've probably been on video calls with them, right? Um, the only VTubers I actually follow are other content creators that I know from before they were VTubers. And when they first started doing the whole VTuber thing, I did my best to still hang out there and uh, listen to their content, but I eventually stopped just because the VTuber avatars weird me out so much that I didn't like tabbing over to go and like comment in their chat, and I wanted to hang out in chats I could actually just watch, you know. So I never unfollowed any of them, but I can't sit there and watch VTuber content. So I will readily say I don't understand it, and that's my bias. But at the same time, I have three friends I can think of off the top of my head that are solid content creators, all of which who became VTubers, and all of which I very much love and respect. I watched the clips of the Iron Mouse thing, and first I heard, hey, Rakai harassed me during streamers sticking their thumbs up each other's butts once a year awards. I felt really traumatized or whatever all the stuff she was saying was. And I was like, oh, damn. I wouldn't put it past Rakai, especially knowing his history. And just the things that a lot of those IRL streamers do in the first place. So that was like, yeah, I believed it, And then I went and I saw the clip, and it was literally a nothing burger. In fact, it was so much more of the opposite of a nothing burger. It is one of the most positive clips of Rakai, or whatever his name is. I don't know who the other guy is called. I saw another video about it today. I saw a video about it originally yesterday. But I saw another video today. One of those bottom feeders. His name's WestJet. He kept calling the Asian dude rice gum. So I don't know what his name actually is, because I've never seen or heard of that streamer before. But I'm just gonna call him Rice Gum for now, because I don't know his name. But so Rakai and Rice Gum, I think he said Kai Cenat and Rice Gum or something like that. He intentionally does that, where he'll just call people by the wrong name to piss off streamers with big egos. Like, I think he calls Valkyrie Pokemon or whatever. Or vice versa. But I don't watch a lot of his content. But occasionally I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling kind of down today. Let me just learn about some streamer drama today. And be thankful that the only one I have nagging me is Charlie, because he wants more food or treats or playtime, right? So Rakai goes in, and this other dude, and they go up to this VTuber, and from the way she originally stated it, it made it sound like she was there in person and kind of got cornered by them in a room. But that's not what happened at all. She wasn't even there. She was literally at home in the comfort of her house. And she had some wage slave there carrying... I'm just saying that to be intentionally facetious. I have no idea who the person was. I'm just trolling a little bit at this point with the random subtle things. Damn it, WestJet. I feel like I'm channeling too much WestJet. I gotta just get back onto... I'm not calling a dude a wage slave when I don't even know what his job is or how much he makes. We'll save that to that type of rage bait for the bottom feeding slop tubers. So, this dude, who's either like her employee or an employee of the event, is, I'm assuming, because like why else would you be carrying around this person's whole rig if not carrying around like an iPad with a phone strapped to it, walking down a hallway, and Rakai and this other dude come up and they're like, oh my god, it's Iron Mouse. They're like, and it's just this really awesome conversation where, like, at one point, the Asian guy asks or starts to ask a question and like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to like cause any issues or anything. Being really respectful and stuff. And she's the one that says, no, it's fine. Ask me. I'm totally chill. And so it's like, so what do you look like in real life? The big question for like all VTubers, especially with the whole commentary lately that all VTubers are just like 30-year-old men in China with voice changers or whatever it was that someone said. But she's like, "Oh, I'm really ugly. That's why I'm a VTuber." And like it's obviously just like fun banter. So Rakai asks, "So like, what are you, black? Are you white?" And she's like, "No, I'm a Latina or whatever." And they're just both super entertained by that, right? Because these are like, let's just say they're kids that will never be valedictorian and are very much caveman brain individuals, right? So they are just super entertained by this conversation. It is one of the most positive and wholesome clips I have ever seen from Rakai in my entire life. And then Iron Mouse goes and like, yeah, I felt like really uncomfortable and uh, I was traumatized by it or whatever word she used. I don't know exactly what she said, but she made it sound like Rakai and this other dude had cornered her in person and were just like harassing her. But it's like she was sitting at home being projected on a fucking iPad screen, and they had the most positive and wholesome interaction where they were just like genuinely happy to see her there. And somehow she's turning it into harassment allegations. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that. So, all I want to say with this is it seems like on the surface level, there was undeserved bullying, and whether the bullying was deserved or not, it doesn't matter. What the end, according to the end result, that led this woman to commit suicide. I will say there are three things that are important to take away from this. The first one is, oh, that burp was not ready. It kind of just forced itself out. My neck cracked when it happened at the same time. I think that's kind of why it was like strained. I should have extended the pipes, you know? Three things. The first one is that there's a difference between calling someone out and harassment, right? I made a video calling out Hassan for shocking his dog. I can't ever imagine using a shock collar on Charlie. That would just make me so sad. He's sleeping in the garbage bag right now. I don't get why he loves the most random bullshit. I'll like set up nice, comfy blankets. Yes, I'm talking about you. I'll like set up nice, comfy blankets for him to just chill in and stuff. But then I'll like go out to the backyard, fill my mom's car, fill a contractor garbage bag with a bunch of random bullshit, odds and ends from my mom's car, and just drop that on the living room floor because there's nowhere better to put it for now. I'll throw it in their room eventually, but I kind of want to sort through there, see if there's anything useful for me. But the point is, he's like, this is the most comfiest sleeping place ever. Never mind that there's like random like mini screwdrivers set in there and shit. Whole bunch of stuff that would be like insanely uncomfortable for me to sleep on. Especially it's like, would I rather wrap myself in a slick plastic bag that can't breathe and isn't warm at all, or a fleece blanket? Or it's like Charlie is always just like garbage bag for whatever reason. That was a random tangent. So, refocus. Um, the three things to take away. One is different between calling someone out and harassing someone. The uh, the other thing I was gonna say when I called someone out, Mizkif, and I mentioned Destiny in that video. Calling people out for sexually assaulting women and then trying to sue them into silence. There's really two aspects of it. The hiccups are back. What the fuck? They went away for a while, but now they're back. Oh, maybe I just need to burp. Oh, hold on, cat. Uh, so you're interrupting my train of thought, Charlie. You're gonna make it take longer. It's already over 2 fucking hours. So there's two things I think that really define the difference between harassment and holding someone accountable. So there's a third thing, but I'll say it's more of like an honorable mention because it's the underlying thing between the other two things, and that's intent, right? Um, do you intend to correct the behavior, or do you simply intend to mock and destroy that person, right? Intent matters. It's very important with everything you do because if you start from a place of love, it's always better than if you start from a place of neglect, right, Charlie? Um, or hate. I was gonna say three. There's only three intents you can have in the world: love, hate, and apathy, right? And it's to different levels, of course, right? Um, when you are going to go marry someone, ask someone to marry you, that's an entirely different level of intent for love than like when you ask a work friend if they want to get beers after the shift or something like that, right? Both of those are love, but entirely different types of love on entirely different levels. Um, I think different types of hate are pretty obvious. The most difficult one to describe is the apathy. I think it's important to um, mention really quickly here that uh, the opposite of love isn't hate. Hate is a corrupted form of love. They're both opposite sides of the coin of passion. Uh, the opposite of love is apathy, not caring about that person or thing at all. So, an example of something you probably do with apathy is taking out the garbage. How much intent do you put behind taking out the garbage? Probably virtually zero, right? You only do it when it's necessary for whatever reasons. And you probably don't put really any extra effort into it of any kind, but it's also like relatively mundane things like that. They're totally fine to do with a little bit of apathy, right? Because in the grand scheme of things, you should save your energy for more important things, right? But there is space to use it as an example because within certain contexts, that may become taking out the garbage with love or with hate. And I've seen both. So, with love, what does that look like? Well, taking out the garbage with love looks like taking a little extra time to make sure you double bag a bag that's causing problems. Uh, taking um, a little extra time to tie the new bag so that it doesn't fall down into the can. Getting the like spending extra 30 cents or dollar or whatever it is to get the lightly scented extra tough garbage bags so that it smells better and is less likely to have stuff poked through. Three things you should never skimp on in life: toilet papers, paper towels, and garbage bags. If you skimp on any of those things, you're going to regret it. Make sure you get good absorbent paper towels. Hey, he just tried to nip at my hand while I was scratching my leg. He's really frustrated and bored right now because of all the snow. He's a big outdoors cat. He was just whining. He had like crazy zoomies last night. I got to be careful about doing fast motions around him right now. Otherwise, he's going to think I'm playing and rip my skin off my arm with his claws, you know? So, make sure you get toilet paper that's absorbed and soft, and you aren't going to poke your thumb through it or finger or whatever. I guess your thumb really isn't back there. Unless you're one of those weird people that wipe from the front, I guess. I mean, I guess it makes sense for women, but like, how do dudes wipe from the front? Anyways, that's another question to ponder another time. So, and definitely make sure you're going to get garbage bags that don't rip every time you try to pull them out of the garbage can, or like easily have something like a piece of cardboard poke through them, right? Broken glass is going to cut just about everything but one of those heavy contractor bags, and we'll even cut through those. But you get those super cheap kitchen bags. It's like, man, you can't even put anything in there. They're just going to pull it apart. Just the weight of like paper and discarded plastic products in there is going to cause the bag to rip. So, what does doing the garbage with hate looks like? We've talked about what doing with apathy looks like, what doing it with love looks like. Well, doing it with hate looks like overfilling it when you are a relatively strong, tall individual like myself, right? I'm not that tall. I think I'm like literally the average or like 1 inch above the average. I'm 5'10" last time I checked, right? But I found oddly enough, you know, being 1 inch above average means that I'm frequently the tallest and or strongest person in the room, right? So it's we it's because, especially being like the nerdy kid that grew up just watching Star Wars and reading Artemis Fowl and Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, I've never seen myself. I don't have this mental image of myself as a strong person. But then at the same time, there'd be times where, like, take like one of those big 50-gallon garbage cans, and I would just put it all together, lift it up with one hand casually and set it aside. Meanwhile, there's like I'm thinking of the kitchen back when I used to work as a line cook specifically. Meanwhile, there's like this 100-pound waitress that wasn't able to pick up that bag at all with both hands. And I just casually yoinked it up there and plopped it down with one arm, you know? So, um, that's like a way to do it with hate, to know the people you are around can't lift up that much garbage for whatever reason, to intentionally overfill it and leave it for one of them. Um, that's more like a passive aggressive way, but like a straight up aggressive way, it's like we said one of the ways to do it with love was to double bag it. Um, One of the ways to do it with hate is to intentionally let that shit drip out and make a mess of it so everyone has to smell it. It's little things like that, right? So even something as simple as taking out the garbage can be done with love or apathy or hate. Confronting someone about something wicked they've done in the view of the public can also be done the same way, right? um, like, if you ask me, most of the slop tubers, I'd say probably, I guess it depends on the slop tuber. A lot of them do it out of apathy, really, right? They're just showing up for the paycheck. Some of them do it out of love, but it's like a twisted, tough love way, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to keep calling you this on the bullshit until you grow up and stop doing it. Some of them do it with hate because they're just really vitriolic, small people, which is why they chose to be a bottom feeder rather than go out and create their own content. Uh, Now, I said there were two things, really, because all that was talking about the underlying honorable mention. Um, the two things that it really boils down to outside of your intent are the specific actions you take and the frequency with which you take them. For example, um, More Pegasus, another of the bottom feeders of the internet. He, I think, is approaching 200 episodes, if he hasn't broken it already, on just Hassan and this whole ongoing saga of him. I don't even know where it started. Uh, I just remember for a while he was them. And I think at one point they were at like 170 or something, right? Um, we're just gonna round it up to 200 because it'll probably get there eventually if it's not there already. We'll just say 150 because I'm pretty sure it's there. Doing 150 videos on one person is very much kind of pushing the limits of frequency. However, it's an ever evolving situation, which mitigates it somewhat. If it were 150 videos just on the dog collar shocking thing, that would be ridiculous and definitely a red flag, so to speak. But it's not. It's just that Hassan is live almost every single day, and he says something more ridiculous and unhinged almost every single day. So he's always feeding new content to the bottom feeders. Now, a different example would be something like I'm trying to think of what it was. That Alicia Mercanti person. I don't remember who exactly she was or how she became popular. I just know that she was like an extreme leftist that used to be uh, relatively successful in the video game journalism and maybe even video game development industries, but had so many public social media crash outs that she basically ruined her own career. um, she would just obsess over people and harass them constantly online, both directly and indirectly, to a point where it was over the one thing. She wasn't bringing up new things, and there was no back and forth. That is just above and beyond and entirely unacceptable, you know? Uh, I gotta check the mail. I haven't checked the mail in days because, well, there's a bunch of snow between here and the mailbox, and I hate snow. And I just saw the mail truck go down the other road. But that's definitely totally unacceptable. And then you have on the other end of the spectrum the way like I did it, where I just did one video and I talked about it again 2 months later, you know? So there's definitely a spectrum, and you can even push it. Like I said, I wouldn't even say more Pegasus is going too far with this. Now, a good example of one slop too, but I think did go too far. Cam Nothingburger. No, Cam Nuggets, I think is his name. Um, I originally watched a couple of his videos during the Mr. Beast dramas. He had those two back-to-back dramas with Ava Tyson and then the Beast Games, and it was like uh, that dude actually started to piss me off because it was clear he was reaching and desperate for content. He made so many Mr. Beast drama videos that it was like utterly ridiculous. It was beyond farming, and like a, a lot of them were just utter bullshit to the point where I think I stopped watching his videos entirely until just recently one popped up in my feed. Um, it may have actually been about the Fox Girl, to be honest. That may have been the video that I watched about the Fox Girl. Um, he's basically been replaced by a guy named Jamari. They have a very similar style to their content, but Jamari's just better at picking videos and I think provides slightly more What word am I looking for? I just like his commentary better. Um, the other thing is not just the frequency of the actions, but the specific actions, right? When More Pegasus it is making 150 videos about Hassan, it's always more of a hey, so this weird extreme leftist socialist pro-terrorist stream is doing weird pro-terrorist things online and abusing his animals and telling lies and spreading misinformation. I think we need to counter these lies and misinformation and talk about the truth here. Um, I really respect that. I think it's necessary in a world of misinformation and bullshit. Um, Charlie, I need to do something real quick. Actually, this wasn't supposed to be 2.5 hours. This was supposed to be 20 minutes. And like, someone's probably been waiting on me to do something for 2.5 hours. So I gotta check the thing real quick. Oh damn! I gotta log in. What was I saying? You guys can stare at the sun for a minute. Let's see. Get your sunglasses out. Okay. I can't remember the password right now. Like, I can, but it's a long enough, complicated password that I can't type it in quickly when my brain is frazzled. So let's just finish the video and I'll do it. The big thing is the actions themselves matter just as much as the frequency, right? All he's doing is saying, hey, this is not right. We should probably do something or at least call attention to this. There's a difference between doing that and sending someone a death threat. To me, it's personally more acceptable to make 1,000 videos exposing someone for shocking their dog live on stream that it is to make one threat against that person's life for shocking their dog on stream, right? So while I'm not sure why I land yet on the Fox Lady thing because I'm not sure of the details, or because we only have one side of the story so far, and the Iron Mouse thing turned out to be exactly the opposite of what she claimed it to be. But I will say, if there's even the least bit of truth to the claims that she was bullied into suicide, it's absolutely fucked up. It's just a supremely evil thing to do. And anyone who is trying to defend themselves or justify their actions because they feel like she was doing the wrong thing, I will promise you, two wrongs do not make a right. All you're doing is amplifying the evil in the world. And from what I can tell, you took out someone who was trying to put more positivity into the world by protecting these animals. Again, I haven't looked too much into the situation. I don't know who that person is. But yeah, it's very sad. So there was three things I think originally that I had comments on. I can only remember two of them at the moment. So the first thing is, in light of that, be kind to people, right? Even when you're going to call them out for some bullshit, you want to allow them space to save face, and you also want to be ready to forgive. Forgiveness does not mean forgetfulness, to be clear. It's entirely possible to forgive Hassan for shocking his dog, but never want to leave him alone with yours, you know? Uh, the second thing, really, is if, I feel like this is kind of the more important one. They're both equally important, but this is the one that I think um, if you're coming up to that line, this is the more important one, right? So be kind to other people, but don't give other people the opportunity to harm you like that, right? I don't know really about the whole Michaela situation. Oftentimes, these people get doxxed or um, their business has online aspects of it which are necessary, which makes it hard to just walk away, right? Kind of hard to turn off the internet when the internet is your business. Kind of hard to uh, avoid getting death threats when they're just being actually mailed to your house instead of sent over Instagram or something like that. So I don't know what her specific situation is, but definitely with the Iron Mouse thing, she was literally just sitting on a computer that she could have turned off anytime. Um, if it's having that much of a negative effect on your mental health, just walk away. Please. Because I want you to make it through and live to see another day. All right. That's all I've got to hiccup through today. So I'm going to go sit at, meditate and see if I can get rid of these hiccups. Maybe I need to drink water. Oh, I don't know what it is. But I'm going to upload this and I'm going to record a real quick 10-minute version for, well, everyone. I'll upload it to both because I don't want to do it like the first time where I upload a 3-hour video and then where I record a 3-hour video and then don't upload it and then don't update anyone. So we're just going to record a quick 10 to 20 minute version. After I do that thing that I need to do, I will probably be live this week, but I'm not sure when. My schedule's all fucked up. Don't expect any type of consistency from me until 2026. But there's a lot of work I need to do as much as possible before the holidays too. So I'll be live when I can find time to be live. But I'm back again. The seasonal depression is gone for now. And I love all of you. And God bless America. Cheers.